Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, beautiful people. I hope you're all doing great. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get your US visa. I've been getting hundreds and hundreds of questions in my inbox asking about how to get a US visa. So, that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be particularly focusing on how to get a visitor's visa. Okay, how to get a visitor's visa. That's what we're going to be focusing on. We're not going to be here for too long, so please join us as we spill this very delicious tea. Of course, I have my mug right here. The tea is brewing. All right, guys, so let's talk about it. So if you want to come here to the US just to visit, or maybe sometimes for business, or even for pleasure, or to tour the country, you will be going in for what's known as a B2 or a B1 visa. Okay, so let's talk about how to qualify for this type of visa and what you're going to be needing to demonstrate to the US Embassy in your home country. So, of course, there are specific requirements that you must meet. Guys, you're welcome. Drop me a comment where you're connecting from. Let me see that you're watching me and I'm not talking to myself. So happy to have all of you on here. So you need to qualify, right? You need to meet certain requirements. So we're going to be going through that. And normally you would have somebody who's known as a consular officer, and the consular officer will be the person who's going to determine whether or not you qualify for a visa. So remember, these are all human beings, and once you are able to prove that you do qualify, most likely you will be granted the visa. So it's all about convincing them, having the right vibe, having the right documents. It's all a combination of documentary, testimonial evidence, as well as the energy you are bringing to that interview. Okay, so of course there are a few steps you need to take before actually getting to the final stage, which is the interview stage. So let's talk about this. So normally, the required presumption under US immigration law is that every visitor visa applicant wants to come and live in the US, right? So the US believes very highly of itself. It's normal. I mean, many people want to come and live in the US to live their American dream. So the underlying feature of every visa application is that you, the visa applicant, you actually want to leave everything and come and live permanently in the US. You want to come and live in the US. You want to come and work in the US. You want to make the US your home. So that is the presumption. When we say that's the presumption, it means that every officer picks your application with the mindset that this person actually wants to come and live here in the US. So that's how they begin the adjudication process, okay, or the review process. And so you, the applicant, the burden is on you to demonstrate otherwise, to demonstrate to them that no, I don't intend to come and live here in the US. I just want to go there to visit or whatever. So there's a way, there's a legal system or a legal methodology or a method through which you need to demonstrate that you don't intend to come and live here permanently. So you must overcome the presumption. That's the whole point. Try to overcome the presumption. If you do not overcome the presumption, you will be denied the visa. So the first thing is that the purpose of your trip is to enter the US temporarily. That's the key word. You're entering the US temporarily for business or pleasure. So as we've discussed, we're focusing primarily on the my trip is I'm sorry, have I gone off? The phone was ringing out here. So sorry for that interruption. So the purpose of your trip for the B1, B2 is to show that, look, I want to come to the US as a visitor, or I want to come for a business purpose. So let's talk a little bit about the B1 visa. So the business visitor visa is known as the B1 type of visa, okay? And then the visa for the tourism or the pleasure is the B2 visa. And let me adjust my screen a little bit. Oh, I think it's gone too down. Okay, looks perfect now. Oop. Why did I even touch this? Okay, I think this looks fine. So let's talk about the B1. We're talking about the B1. The purpose of this is that it's a planned travel that is business related when you have a B1 visa. And you are here, you're coming to the US to consult with, let's say, business associates, you're attending a scientific or educational or professional conference, or negotiate a contract. All these are the B1 types of visa. It's a business related trip. Okay, and the B2 is for visitors. So you're here, you want to come and visit the White House, you want to visit, look at where President Joe Biden lives, or you want to go to Disneyland or World. One of them is in Paris, one of them is in Florida. So yes, you want to visit the one in Florida, Disneyland. I don't know. You want to visit some tourist attraction in the US, or you want to visit family, or you want to come and do your shopping. Those are all, pleasure trips. So that's the B2 type of visa. And sometimes you may be wanting to come for a combination of the B1 and the B2, which is, okay, I'm kind of coming to, negotiate a contract, and then afterwards I'll tour the US. So you may be given the B1, B2 visa, which is a combination of the business visa as well as the tourist visa. Okay, so that's the underlying premise. And then let's move on to what you need to demonstrate. So you're going to be needing to demonstrate, we're going to be talking about 4 things. So the first thing you're going to be needing to demonstrate is that the purpose of your trip is to enter the US temporarily for business or pleasure. So temporarily means you need not to be coming here for an indefinite amount of time. It needs to be very temporary, meaning that you have a home somewhere and you're planning to just come for a quick round and then you go back. So you need to have an arrival date and a departure date. So if you go, you need to demonstrate to the consular officer that, look, I just want to come to the US for 1 month. I want to come arrive in the US on the 1st of April, and I want to leave by the, let's say, 30th of April. So you need to show that you want a temporary visit. You're just going to the US for a short time. And then the second thing is that you need to plan to remain for a specific and a limited period. So it's unacceptable not to know when you'll be done. So you go and then they ask you, okay, so you're going to negotiate a contract. You got $1 million deal. You're here to maybe, I don't know, set up some $1 million deal here. And you're asked, okay, when do you plan on leaving? You are planning on coming on 1st April, and then you're like, oh, I don't know. Unacceptable. You always have to know, always give them a date. Always try to give them a date. Like I'm planning to leave by 30th because I have a series of meetings, business meetings on, let's say, the 15th, and then on the 20th, and then I do maybe a pleasure tour of my city, and then leave on the 30th back to my country. Try to give them an end date. And you know what? Because nobody is really going to hold you to that date. The date on which you're supposed to leave, things happen, life happens. There's a way to actually extend your stay. If you're giving a period of authorized stay, during your I-94, the record of stay, when you are entering those stamp, okay, you are here, you should leave at the end of the period, maybe 3 months. They'll tell you leave at the end of 6 months. Sometimes you may need to extend it, which is fine. So all I'm saying is try to give them a date, a start date, when you anticipate that you need to be in the US and when you anticipate that you need to leave the US. Don't leave it hanging. It gives the notion or the impression that, look, this person is a flight risk, has a very high flight risk. So it means that this person, if they're given the chance, they're going to run into the woods, and we're not going to find them. They're going to become, visa overstays. So they don't want to have visa overstays. People who come on a B1, B2, and then overstay. So try to give them a time frame within which you're going to be leaving. Okay. And then secondly, let's talk about, I think we spoke about the first one. The second one is specific limited period. It has to be specific. It has to be limited. There's no room for, I'm not sure, vagueness, evasiveness, ambiguity. You need to be sure about what you're doing. That's why you need to have a purpose for the trip. and then you need to be able to show that, okay, my meeting is on so and so date, so I need to leave a week after that or something like that. That gives some more certainty to what you're doing and the fact that you do intend to leave after your trip. Okay, guys, drop me a comment, let me know you're watching me and where you're watching me from. Okay, so the third thing is that evidence of funds. All right, you need money. You need money. You need to prove to them that you have money to, number one, cover your expenses while in the US. And of course, number two, reasonably cover your life expenses. So when you're coming to the US, for instance, let's say you're coming for pleasure, you're coming to shop, you're coming to shop some clothes. You've spied some clothes at Saks, you've spied some clothes at Nordstrom or Macy's or Fendi, I don't know, or maybe even Old Navy, and then you're like, look, I need an overhaul of my wardrobe. I need to come shop some new fabulous clothes and shoes and handbags, for my business meetings in Ghana or in Nigeria or in Dubai. So that's the purpose of your trip. You're coming to shop, tour and have fun and shop and enjoy some cocktails, afternoon summer cocktails. Okay, so when you're stating the purpose of your trip, know that there's always an average amount of money that you need to be spending. So let's say a ticket to the US, depending on where your destination, where you're departing from. Let's say if you're departing from Ghana or Nigeria, let's say a ticket is, let's say, $2,000. Okay, so that's the cost of a return ticket, $2,000. Or if you're planning to do a business class trip, let's say $10,000 for your return ticket. And so you need to have that amount of money in your account. Not only should you have the amount of the ticket, but you should also have a reasonable amount to cover your lodging and your feeding and your transportation. So if you're going to be staying at a hotel, maybe you've chosen the Hilton or Trump Towers, I don't know, or whatever, or maybe an Airbnb, to stay in an Airbnb, a very nice place, and you're going to be staying there for 30 days. See, the cost of the lodgement should cover, your stated purpose and the specific amount of time you're claiming you'll be here in the US. So if you say that you're going to be here in the US for 30 days, you should have accommodation for 30 days. Maybe your family member will be hosting you. Maybe your best friend will be hosting you, or your boyfriend, or your business partner will be hosting you, or you'll be getting accommodation from a hotel. Okay, so if you are getting accommodation from the Hilton Hotel, let's say, usually depending on the type of suite you're going in for, maybe you're going for the super luxurious, double king size bed, whatever, and a night is, let's say, $800 a night, and you're going to be staying for 30 days. That will bring it up to about what, $36,000? Let me calculate this. My math has gone really rusty. Or $24,000. Okay, so that means that 30 days you're looking at $24,000 if you're going to be staying in a hotel. Remember, we've talked about your business class ticket, so add that to your $24,000 accommodation fee. Lucky for you, if you have your brother or sister who's willing to accommodate you, they need to give you an invitation that, look, I'm willing to host you for the amount of time you're here in the US. So that would be free. If you don't have that, you need your hotel booking, or basically just where you're going to be staying. They don't want people coming here living on the streets or being homeless, and then it now becomes a US burden. Like, okay, they now have to find accommodation for you, or you become a danger to the community in which you are in. Okay, so you need to find your accommodation, your ticket, and then food. Okay, so reasonable amount of food. Let's say a day for feeding, you're thinking about, I don't know how much you eat. Some people, love to eat, but they just look at the average. So let's say a day you're talking about, I don't know, maybe $200 for feeding a day. And if you're staying for 30 days, that would be what, $6,000? So let's say for 30 days, that would be, 200 times 30, $6,000. So that's what you're feeding. Okay, so the feeding is $6,000, accommodation is about $24,000, ticket $10,000. And then apart from your feeding, you need to think about transport. How are you going to be mobile? Like, are you going to get an Uber? Are you going to, lease a luxurious car, like a Lexus for your trip? Or you're going to, just use a Lyft, which is a competitor for Uber. So thinking about the distance, like, just your transportation around the US. Let's say you're going to be spending $300 a day on transportation. So you need to calculate that as well, times 30, that would be what? $9,000. Okay, so we first talked about the ticket, business class ticket of $10,000. We've spoken about your food, which was, your accommodation, $24,000. Ticket, accommodation, and then we've spoken about your feeding, which is about $6,000 for food. And then you also calculate the reasonable cost of your transport. Let's say $9,000 on Uber. Let's say you're spending $300 a day, and food is about $200 a day, and then accommodation we said about $800 a day. Okay, so these are the things, and then you need to look at miscellaneous. Let's say miscellaneous, for your shopping or whatever, you're going to be spending, I don't know, $50,000. These are extreme figures, not really applicable to the ordinary, the average person who is trying to make ends meet, but it's just to give us an idea of, how they look at things. So miscellaneous, let's say hospital, like just in case you fall sick, you have, let's say, $50,000. So if you look at all this, let's say you're spending $100,000 on your summer vacation here. If you're going to be spending about $100,000 and you have even $110,000 in your account, for the purposes of this visa, you will be denied, because when they look at, the factors going into your trip, like that, okay, you're going to be renting accommodation, you're going to be spending your nights at Hilton Hotel. They look at the calculation, and they look at the fact that you just have $110,000 in your account. That's a lot of money, but unfortunately you'll be denied, because it's not reasonable that you have $110,000 and you spend $100,000. You blow $100,000 on a vacation. However, on the contrary, if you have about, let's say, $3 million in your account and you're spending just $100,000 on a vacation to the US, that's reasonable. That's reasonable amount of funds. And also they will look at the number of dependents you have. If you have 5 children paying their school fees, they're all under 18. It doesn't make sense that you will spend $100,000 on your vacation and you have just $110,000 in your account. So it has to be very reasonable. You need to have enough funds, so evidence of funds. So if you're going on a low budget vacation to the US, let's say, a regular ticket, $2,000, you do free accommodation because you have a good friend who's willing to host you. You get some free food, but you buy some food once in a while. You're here for a 30-day trip, and some food once in a while. So let's say $500 for your food, because you get free food from your accommodation. And then let's say your host will be driving you around, but then Uber a few times, let's say about $300 for Uber. And then miscellaneous, you have about $500. This is a low budget vacation to the US. Let's say that's about $3,300. Okay. And then let's do a round. Let's round it up to about $5,000 for your trip, your 30-day trip. That's also fine. But then you should be able to prove to them that you have more in your account. In Ghana cedis, this would be about 30,000 cedis. So you should be able to prove to them that, let's say you have about maybe $60,000 in your account, or even if you don't have it directly in your own account, you should have somebody who's sponsoring your trip. What is your relationship to this person? Is this person your uncle, your rich uncle, or your rich auntie who is willing to sponsor your trip? All those things should be made known, and they should definitely do a letter for you to show that, look, they are sponsoring your trip. This is evidence of the account, and this is where the money is coming from. And they have so much money, and sponsoring your trip will not, reduce the account or anything. So that's the third point, evidence of the funds to cover your expenses. I think I've been very expansive on that. So, and then lastly, that you have a residence outside the US, as well as other binding ties that will ensure departure from the US at the end of your trip. So I've discussed this quite a few times in this week with different people who have asked me about it. You need to show them that you have binding ties in your home country. So you have employment, you have a job, a stable job, you have a rented apartment, or you have properties, you have children, you have family, you just have ties, things that will make you come back to the US. I'm sorry, go back to your home country instead of absconding to the US. So if you're a single guy, no kids, you're not in school, no job, if you go for a visa, chances are you may be denied because you look like somebody who, you know, you don't have enough ties. You don't even have three babies in Ghana. Your wife is not in Ghana. You don't have a stable job. So what shows them that if you come to the US and you get a job, you're not just gonna leave Ghana or Nigeria or whichever country you are in. You need to show them that you have a very strong link to your home country, and that when you come for 30 days, you're going to be going back home to your country, guys. So it's all about proving these fundamental things. Final note, we've done over 20 minutes. Be mindful of what you're posting on social media. Your social media links are now required. There's a lot of noise going on about, okay, you know, the LGBTQ bill. Just be careful about how you speak against, you know, the US government. What I like to say is that, look, you are the visitor, you are seeking entry. So it's just like somebody's house. If you're a visitor, you're going to somebody's house. You don't want to talk badly about them. Otherwise, they have the right to kick you out of their home. Like, they are not obliged to invite you into their home. So it's all discretionary. And then last, because if you have, let's say, a child who tells you in their own home that, mommy, I don't like this. I don't like the fact that the TV is too loud. You can't kick them out. That's your child. So you just, you know, tell them that, hey, okay, I'll lower the volume or I won't lower the volume. But if somebody else comes from outside and is like, I don't like the way you hear them actually talk about you outside, that, look, I don't like the way so and so increases its volume, you have the right to say, look, don't even come into my home. So remember, you're the one seeking entry into the US. So be mindful of what you talk about on your social media accounts, because now you are required to submit all those details before you are given a visa. Guys, I hope this was useful to you. There were no questions. Yeah, no questions at all. So guys, if you want my help, please call me. My number is right there on the screen, 8027-800-564. I'll be very happy to assist you. US licensed attorney extraordinaire. I represent immigrants around the US. I file all types of applications on behalf of my clients: US citizenship, green cards, removal of conditions, abuse green cards, work authorization. If you have any type of US immigration law issue, please give us a call, and then we'll set up an appointment. We'll look at your case very strategically and give you the best legal options, to proceeding. Okay. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next video. I hope to come your way again. Have a wonderful rest of the day and take care. Bye-bye.